You gentlemen start with goalposts.
Yes,
is that what you're saying?
That's correct.
Got it.
Wide left.
Yep, wide left.
Romo, Nance, Mackey, all 12. How many just the tip comments did we get on CBS yesterday?
I honestly miss them.
Oh, Romo said it when a ball got deflected, and then there was the goal line play where Breeze looked like he had
the tip.
They said it like 8 times. When Breeze looked like he scored but didn't.
God.
He's like, there it is, Jim, just a tip. And then Nance started doing it. I couldn't believe it.
Come on.
Oh, my God. They're
Grow
12
up.
years old. It was hilarious.
Grow up.
Are you kidding? I loved it.
All right, let's fire up some appropriate music here. Statements, things we observed over the weekend in Minnesota sports, or even if it's like loosely related to Minnesota sports. Judd Zulgad, we'll start with you. We'll go around the room and make a few laps here.
Okay, I'll start with this one that is related to sports in this town, and it comes from dipping in and watching a large part of 6 football games, which was absolutely glorious, okay? The Vikings could not have picked a worse year to go into a slight rebuild than 2020/21 because the NFC, my man, is as wide open top to bottom as I recall. Like, Green Bay is good, but if that defense does not play well, they're eminently beatable, correct?
Yeah, I mean, the Vikings destroyed them in their last meeting.
The Saints are fine, but if the Vikings had, so I'm not saying if the Vikings had snuck in as the 7th seed this year, okay? What I'm saying is if Zimmer had his ordinary, doesn't have to be great, but stout defense, right? And they were efficient offensively, this is a year where you could have, I think, easily made a run. Nobody, the Rams, Seattle, Washington, Tampa, Chicago, the Saints, Green Bay, nobody scares you. This would have been the year to get in with a defense that was just good.
Yeah. I'm going to make an on-air sort of executive decision. I think because there's also things we learned over Wild Card Weekend. I think we're just going to make this Mackey and Judd statements from the weekend.
Okay.
And we're just going to put it all in a big stew here. All
Okay.
right. So I'm going to start with
Football.
this one. Kevin Stefanski is a better head coach from his couch than Mike Zimmer is in the stadium. He is the one that got away.
Yeah.
The Cleveland Browns haven't felt like this. Their fans haven't experienced joy like that since Bill Belichick was the head coach in 1994. And I would even argue that when they had over the Patriots, they showed highlights of that during the broadcast last night.
Great shoulder pads.
Huge shoulder pads.
Do you like the old shoulder pads?
God. Everybody was a fullback or a linebacker.
That's right.
Even the kickers had big shoulder pads.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
And I don't even think they felt that joy then because they knew their team was leaving. So, Kevin Stefanski from his couch helped produce the most joy Browns fans have felt since probably the late 1980s, like sometime during their runs where they
Schottenheimer
came up short, right?
Marty Schottenheimer. Yeah.
And the script and the game plan they put together. Now, it helps when Ben Roethlisberger is turning 90 years old in front of our eyes, and he's just throwing wobbling ducks. But the Browns brought the energy. The Browns brought a game plan, and Baker Mayfield has been schemed into a very good young quarterback. And it's hard not to watch what Stefanski's doing with the Browns. Everything, scheme, offensive line, energy, chemistry, all of the things, and not compare it to what the Vikings have sort of turned into here. So that's my thought. Kevin Stefanski from his couch, greater than Mike Zimmer in the stadium.
Done a great job.
Good job, Preef.
Football.
Oh, Preefer too.
Yeah.
Great job by Preefer. I had to delete about 4 tweets referring to sending the Steelers to an island and,
Yes.
the rest.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Didn't think that would play well during this particular climate.
No, probably not.
All right, mine piggybacks right off your guys'. If it can happen in Cleveland, it can happen in Minnesota. Okay, for God's sakes, the Cleveland Browns haven't been to the playoffs in 18 years. They win their first playoff game. I haven't seen a Twins playoff win in 18 years, number one.
Yeah.
This franchise has been inept in football forever. If it can happen in Cleveland, something that happened last night, it can happen here too. So everyone that says that we're cursed, I've seen the Cubs win a World Series. I saw the Cleveland Browns kick the Steelers' ass yesterday, okay? It can happen here too. If it can happen in Cleveland, it can happen in Minnesota. Keep the faith. Hashtag faith.
In true Minnesota sports fashion, though, how nervous were Browns fans when the Steelers cut it to a 12-point game early in the fourth quarter?
I took great joy in that. Twitter was fantastic.
That was hilarious.
I totally turned off the game for the second and third quarter to watch Cobra Kai. And then once I heard it was a 12-point game, I was like, oh, wait, I'm back in.
Like there's certain cities, and we are definitely one. Like there's certain sports cities, I should say. Cleveland, we are one of them. There's probably a few others that just don't have enough reference points of success. We have low sports self-esteem and low sports self-confidence.
Yeah.
And so when something bad happens, you think, oh God, we're going to blow a 35-7 lead.
Didn't you think that though? I thought to myself,
little bit.
oh my God, they might do this. They might blow this.
When the Browns went 3-and-out and the Steelers got the ball back, and then something else happened, which will be a statement of mine shortly here. The Steelers get back.
I'm going to turn to the world of hoops and give you a Timberwolves statement about what I saw and I feel, despite the fact it came in a loss on Saturday, is a growing maturity and a sort of a changing of this person. Karl-Anthony Towns deserves credit. He showed us something by coming back on Saturday with a cast on his left wrist. And it was clear that he was in pain. Mm-hmm. And it was clear that he basically could not use his left hand to do much in terms of basketball related skills with that cast on. And he put up 25 and grabbed 13 boards and made some great passes. And it felt like the tone shifted or changed from this woe is us, we're screwed without him to, hey, he's playing. And then, of course, he didn't play in the back-to-back, which was not a surprise on Sunday. And the Wolves did win over the Spurs in the back-to-back. But the point being is, I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns a year or two ago with this same injury comes back and plays as quickly as he did this time. I think it's a very important shift in him realizing his role and how absolutely instrumental playing through pain is because of what he means to this team.
Yeah, in fact, I'm going to respond to you by giving out my next statement because it ties
Football.
in. The Timberwolves are back, baby. Timberwolves are back. I don't even know what back means. Like, I don't know.
We're 3-7, right?
It's been a long time. But, yeah, I mean, Karl-Anthony Towns is probably now one of the most underrated players in the NBA. I think for a while, he was very obviously one of the top 15 players a few years ago. And then he got the bad rap with Jimmy Butler and Tibbs. He disappeared in that series against the Rockets. And so his NBA stock went way down and people thought he was soft. And now it's like you kind of watch him, and I'll admit it was a little hard to watch him through all the pop-up ads as the way I watch Timberwolves games. To click delete and X out on some.
My house, so it's just fine. A little cold, but just fine.
Need that vaccine so I can come hang out at the Zolgad house.
Yeah.
But he's like, if you notice too on the sidelines, he's like coaching guys up, and he just for a long time it kind of felt like he's this star player that people are waiting to grow up, and he's got emotional and maturity issues, and like he's still growing as a human. But sometimes like you lose a parent and you go through some adversity, and you know, people denigrate you as a leader and as a player across the league, and Charles Barkley makes fun of you on national TV. Like you go through some of that stuff and it gives you calluses, and it kind of feels like he's harnessing energy in the right way. If I could steal a phrase from Happy Gilmore, he's harnessing the good, blocking out the bad. Harness the good, block out the bad. Feel the flow. And he's becoming a leader, and so it's his team in that sense too, that he's empowered to pull Vanderbilt aside on the sidelines and say, hey man, do it this way. Yep. Defensively, a couple guys on Twitter, Wolves Twitter is great with putting film clips up and stuff. And I don't remember if it was Dane Moore or somebody else. He's anticipating defensively more than he has in the past. He's been very reactive and a step slow in the past. And if you watch him now, he's like anticipating passes and stuff.
Yep.
I mean, is he Kevin Garnett in his prime defensively? No. But is he better? Yes. And the Wolves, without him, held the Spurs under 90 points last night. So that's like 32 better than their season average. So we will take that. But it was fun to watch, and it's against the Dynasty Spurs. So 22-year Dynasty. I do. I click up. I X them out.
You just got to click them a few times.
Football.
Yeah. As you know. Don't go too far into those advertisements, or really bad things.
Yeah. Whoa, what happens?
Well, I'm just saying some of the advertisements aren't PG sometimes.
Yeah, and then sometimes it's easy to click on the wrong button, and now you're downloading things to your computer.
Yeah.
It's a work computer.
It's a whole
What's
thing.
going on here?
It's tough. It's difficult.
All right, my next statement.
Not going to give in to the man, though.
Football.
Screw the man.
My second statement, TikTok twins, Time to do something.
Well, that TikTok.
Yeah, right?
I thought they.
For the kids.
Nelson Cruz. Hey, a little video.
TikTok, Twins. Seriously, do something here. And MLB over the weekend, again, just started to infuriate more people. I saw Mackey's tweets about it on Saturday morning, too. I want the Twins to make some type of move. We saw the Mets earlier last week make a big trade. Francisco Lindor, one of the best players in baseball. They basically gave up, I think, peanuts to get him, but whatever.
Yeah, you can't trade prospects.
Yeah, can't do that. Not at all. I don't care if it's Nelson Cruz getting re-signed. I don't care if it's making a big trade. Anything. Do something. Baseball. Like, and you're claiming you're starting on time? No, you're not. Like, stop kidding yourselves here. So, Twins, to keep my interest alive, go do something so I can at least get somewhat excited for hopefully May 1st opening day.
Just poke them.
Hey.
With a twig.
It's like
hey, Twins, what's going on?
It's the meme, the stick figure poking another.
Hey, Joe. Joe Polad, do something. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't
do stuff.
I don't think baseball teams have any incentive to, like, honestly, this is going to drag out. By this, I mean free agents on the market. George Springer is still out there. Trevor Bauer. This is going to drag out probably until like March or April with some of these guys.
Oh, hell yeah.
And
it'll go into spring training without question.
There will be a Mackey baseball rant at some point this week on the show based off a Buster Only article that was posted yesterday. But the problem is there's no framework. Like, you can say, well, but the pandemic hit us all really hard. And we're okay. The pandemic hit the NFL really hard and it hit NBA really hard. The NBA got smoked by the pandemic too, right? I mean, not as bad as baseball because the NBA will get hit harder this year because there's not going to be fans in the seats. So I get that. But the NBA has a structure. You know what the max contracts are. Like their salary caps. Yeah. Baseball has no structure. Therefore, guys just sit out there and have staring contests.
How do you not have your rules, though? That's my question.
I know. It's nuts.
How are we in here? We sit here in mid-January, basically, and you don't have your rules?
Dude, Kyle Schwarber just signed with the Washington Nationals this weekend.
He did?
He signed a one-year contract.
Saturday.
I didn't even know he did that.
Saturday morning.
He signed a one-year contract with the Nationals, and two things off that. One, Twins related. He would have been a great plan B for Nelson Cruz, but because you have to sit here and have a staring contest, because Nelson Cruz is waiting to see if 15 other teams are going to open up his options, right? And he wants to know if there's going to be a DH in the National League, and then his value goes up. And so Kyle Schwarber signs with the Nationals, and their main message was, we think he can play corner outfield for us, and if there's a DH in the National League, he might be a DH for us. They signed a guy, and they're like, I don't know, maybe he'll be a DH.
It's rotisserie baseball. Yeah, we'll stick him in the utility spot potentially.
We're not really sure if there's going to be outfield. One, though.
Hey, here's the thing. We'll play him at shortstop for one game, and then his value will go way up. We'll play
football.
So off of Declan's point, as a Mackey and Judd statement from the weekend, I will say this to baseball. You idiots, take a page from the National Football League, which marketing-wise with the NBA is genius. The idea of putting a game on Nickelodeon yesterday, the Bears, was so damn good. And I didn't watch a ton.
Good, I watched it.
But I dipped in just to see. And I bet you they cultivated more young fans who didn't care previously. I mean, this is exactly what baseball needs. To get to basically say, hey, here's our sport. We'll explain it to you. We'll make the players look like they're cool. We'll tie them in with people that you like and characters and stuff. It seems silly and goofy. It's genius. It was completely genius. It was funny, too.
I loved it.
And the sliming, the Super Bowl sliming when a touchdown was scored, they had the graphic of the green slime coming up. It's just all genius.
It's also very transparent too, right? Like they know, parents aren't letting kids play football as often because of CTE and concussions. Our youth football numbers are going down. What's a way in which we can get moms and families on board with NFL football? I don't know. Let's make a slimy first down line and put SpongeBob up as the field goal net.
How smart is that, though, to attract kids?
Genius.
Nate Burleson was great on commentary during
that. He's really good.
Yeah. He was very good.
Did you guys spend more time? Sounds like Judd ducked in. I watched probably 5 minutes of the Nickelodeon broadcast. It was great. Declan, were you watching it the whole time?
I woke up from a slumber, a typical Sunday slumber from a Saturday night of fun around the second quarter of that game, and then I watched the whole thing. And I enjoyed it. I really, really liked it. I thought it was great.
I couldn't go away from Romo. I needed me some Tony Romo.
You woke up in the second quarter of the Bears Saints game?
Yeah, I took a nap I fell asleep around the fourth quarter of the Titans game.
Oh, okay, all right.
And then I woke up about in the second quarter of the Bears game.
Gotcha.
The only thing I didn't like was you could tell because it was a kid-friendly audience, they were afraid to criticize because towards the end they're like, "Oh, Mitch Trubisky, he's trying so hard. Like he's been such a good sport all season." It's like, guys, he's pretty bad.
Then there was a couple instances where you're wondering, like, was it a catch or not, and trying to explain that to kids. That is a whole.
Romo though was great. Again, at home too.
Football.
Work from home.
Was it back to me, or was it Declan that just went?
Judd just went.
So it's back to
it's
you.
back to me?
Back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. NFL coaches still have no idea how to manage fourth downs. We saw it 3 times over the weekend. So Matt Nagy punting, we already talked about him punting down, I believe it was 18 points in the fourth quarter. Your season's on the line. It was like a 4th and 8. Mitch Trubisky struggling. So very unlikely, and your season's probably over either way. But like, dude, what are you punting for? Can anyone give me like one, even for like a wave the white flag purpose? Why would you, even if you're about to wave the white flag, wouldn't you still just throw a pass?
Yes. Yeah.
What's the
I have no idea.
explanation?
I don't know.
So that was one of them.
We want to pin him, Phil. We want to pin him.
Yes.
Give our defense a chance to stop him.
Well, that's the voice of Mike Tomlin from yesterday.
Saw it.
Because he also punted. Well, Mike Vrabel and Mike Tomlin both punted on 4th and short from around midfield when trailing in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. And Tomlin trailed by 2 touchdowns. So it becomes a math game at that point. Let's say there was like, I think it was like at the quarter change or somewhere right around there. And it was 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. And they're right around midfield. And the Steelers are mounting this comeback, and Mike Tomlin decides to punt. And I believe they punted into the end zone. So the difference was even less than it would have been. And his explanation after the game was, I wanted to preserve momentum by pinning them deep. So his thought was, if we don't get it, I have lost momentum. But dude, you might only get the ball back twice anyways, and you're down by 2 touchdowns.
And the Browns scored.
Punting is giving away momentum.
And the Browns went down and scored.
And
it didn't matter.
Right. And he also said, by the way, in a game in which the Browns at that point, I think they were at 35 points at that point. Maybe even 42. But the Browns had scored more points at that point than any other Steelers game allowed all season. And Mike Tomlin's logic was, well, we had stopped him on the previous couple drives, so we figured we could pin him and stop him again. Like, dude, they've run up 35 points on you already.
And they're headed to 50. They're headed to 50 points, Mike.
Like, what do you think is going to happen here?
But what is the reasoning from situation to situation? That's what I don't get. Like Vrabel at times is really aggressive.
Because they view it more, it's more of a risk because we might not get it, as opposed to the risk of giving them the ball back down 2 touchdowns, and you only might get it back twice.
Right.
That's the risk. And the Steelers, they flashed a graphic on 2-point conversions, which are pretty similar to like 4th and 1s and 4th and 2s, right? You use your best short yardage plays. The Steelers are 60% conversions on 2-point conversions since Mike Tomlin has been the coach over 12 years. So they're a great short yardage team. End rant. But like, how do coaches not have this figured out yet?
I don't know.
And now it's like when Mike Tomlin came in the league, coaches would get ripped more often for taking risks. Now it's like you get savaged for not taking the risk.
And Tomlin took them, right?
It seems like he takes them more than other teams.
He took them a lot at one point. So
coaches,
I don't get it.
Be smarter.
Football.
All right, my third statement here. I don't know if this team's going to be good, but the Minnesota Wild are turning a page, is what I'm saying. So they're turning a page from the previous era of Wild hockey. The Wild might be all right. I think they'll contend for that final playoff spot in their division. But finally now, Zucker is gone, Granlund's gone, Nino's gone, Coyle's gone. Coyle, gone. Scandella,
gone as well.
Niederreiter, gone. And I know some of those guys have now been gone for 2 years. But we were still holding on to the fact of, well, either 2 things. Number 1, you sold too low on them. Or 2, well, they were still good players and we still should have built around them more. No. All 4 of those guys achieved what they were going to achieve. They never elevated their game to the next level. And they're supplemental pieces. That's what they are. So guys like Nick Bonino and Nick Bukestad, who are here on 1-year contracts, Marcus Johansson too, I don't know if these guys are going to turn around and build up the Wild to make them a deep run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But I do know that the old era of Wild hockey, the Chuck Fletcher, Paul Fenton era of Wild hockey is now done. It's a new era, and I'm excited to see what happens. I'm just excited that a new era of Wild hockey is coming to the Stanley Cup.
And with supplemental players, like there's no need to lock them up to 4- and 5-year contracts, right?
Exactly.
Like you can rotate those guys.
Just get a center. Please, God,
Yeah,
go
it's gonna
get
be
it.
tough.
Go get a center.
Is it harder to find a franchise center in hockey than it is to find a franchise quarterback in football?
It's a
I thought you were going to say even an ace in baseball.
no.
Or
It's
that.
I
it's,
put all
pro-
them
it's
together.
probably an ace in baseball. I would say a franchise center in hockey, an ace in baseball is probably tied for the second behind. I think finding a franchise quarterback is probably the most difficult. Centers, though, are right behind that, but it is tough. But I mean, the Wild doesn't even have like a guy who you could put atop the depth chart and be like, it's going to be okay. They are basically trying to piecemeal this thing, and they've got this Bonino guy as a second line center right now, and he's fine. But Nick Bonino's a third line grinder. He's a gritty grinder and not a second line guy. So they got to find one. I got one more. I got one more because I feel bad for this guy, but it just drives me crazy. Gabe Kalsher's inability to knock down threes is one of the most perplexing thing right now going in Minnesota sports.
Yeah,
Like he's got
weird.
the shot.
It is weird.
He's got the shot. He never lacks for confidence. He's jacking them up. I mean, it's not like he's like, I can't make them, coach. So he's jacking them up. They look like they should go. They're an air ball one time. They are literally halfway down the cylinder the next time before it pops out of there. My God, what's happened?
He must just knock these down in practice, right? Otherwise,
yes.
because if he couldn't make them in practice, they would tell him, hey, I don't know, you must have just been hot your freshman year, but like, we got to stop taking those shots.
Yes. But I don't get it. And it's perplexing. And the problem is you go to Iowa, Michigan, and the games that they have lost, which I think is up to 4 now on the road. And Gabe jacks up a few threes and they don't go in. And then the opposing team on their home floor comes down and goes on, let's say a 10-2 run. And it's done. But I just don't get it.
Imagine
2 years ago, this guy was knocking down threes like there was no tomorrow. It felt like.
Imagine if you could just take freshman Gabe Kalsher and put him on this team.
Yes.
This team just needs freshman Gabe Kalsher to sit there, just knock down like 4 threes a game. I don't know how much it would change some of these 30-point losses, but
it would change the momentum of
probably change the Iowa game from this last weekend a little bit. I mean, you didn't get beat by 30 in that game at least, but yeah, it is super weird. It's a very prolonged slump. Like you never saw Blake Hoffarber go into like a 2.5 year slump.
No, it's absolutely perplexing.